Hello guys, my name is Srinivasrao. I am a Python trainer, and in this session we will discussing about exception handling. In the previous session we discussed what is exception handling, what are types of errors we have, runtime errors and syntactical errors. Syntactical errors cannot be handled, but whereas runtime errors can be handled, and these runtime errors are called exception handling. So, we discussed predefined or built-in exceptions yesterday. In previous video session, we discussed predefined or built-in exceptions. Built-in exceptions are we discussed in previous video session division error, division by zero error. Okay. We also discussed type error, value error, name error. We discussed name error, and also we discussed index error. This we discussed in previous video session. Now, we will discuss about one more syntax. What is else? Else block in exception in try except, else block in try except, and also we will discuss this finally block, else block and finally block in try except syntax. So, when it comes to else block, when there is no exception, when the program has no exception, directly comes to else block and it will execute the else block. Okay. When there is no exception, and final block is always executes if it is error, if it is runtime error, if exception or no exceptions. Okay. We will see by seeing the examples. By example, we will know how to come to this else block and final block. Okay. So, what I will do here, I will say for example, A equals to int function input, please enter any number, this is my input, first input, and second B equals to I want like input int function input, and I will display one message called please enter number 2. Right. Now, result equals to A slash B, and what I will do, I will print res. Now, what happens we will see when you run this program. For example, enter 10 here, and next number 2 I will enter 2, you will get proper inputs, syntax is perfect, no exception, all my inputs are proper, then I will get this output 5.0. But for example, if I enter 10 here 10, and also now next I will enter 0. Now, this time I will enter 0 and I will try to press enter. What happens? We got 0 division error. Okay, division by 0 error or 0 division error. So, we must handle this. How to handle? By using exception handling concepts. We will handle this concept. So, how? By using this try except block. So, I will put try here, try indentation, okay, B and except exception name. This we discussed yesterday in previous video session. Exception is what? 0 division error, and print my own message here. Print you can't divide any number by 0. You can't divide a number by 0. Right. Now, when I run this program, I will say 10 here, I will enter 10 here, and this time I will enter 0 again. What happens now? Now, this program is handled, exception handled by using 0 division error. See, we got you can't divide a number by 0. So, what we will know? We will use this syntax now. This is optional, but we will use this else block in try except block and final block. Else block will be executed, this block will be executed when there is no exception. This else block will be executed when there is no exception. When program successfully runs the program, then this block will be executed. But what about finally block? Finally block always executes, even though there is an error, exception or no exception, always executes. This block will be always executes. So, I will come here and I will use this else block now. Else block, I will write here print the program is successfully executed without exception. This program is successfully executed, fully executed without exception, right. Now, finally always executes, even though if it is error is there, exception is there, when there is an exception. So, print I always executes, I will say I always executes, right. Now, I will run this program. Now, when I run this program here, it will ask for inputs. Okay. Now, what I will do first, I will give proper inputs, for example, 10 here, 10 by 5, 10 divided by 5, the output will be 2.0, successfully it executes without any exceptions. So, it comes to else block, it prints 2.0, it prints this line number 5 statement, that is 2.0, because I entered proper inputs 10 by 5. Then it comes to, then it will not go to line number 7, because everything is proper, inputs are proper. It comes to line number 8 and it prints this program is successfully executed without any exception, and then finally it comes to final block, it prints I always executes. Now, I will press enter. Now, please see the output, it will print not only 2.0, it is also printing this program is successfully executed without any exception, and finally it prints I always executes, right. Now, next time what I will do, this time I will enter 10 and enter 0. You can't divide any number by 0, right. So, exception will occur now, and it will be handled. What it prints here, from line number, the program breaks at line number 4, it comes to line number 6 and it prints you can't divide a number by 0 and directly jumps to final block, because this error, exception is occurred, that is the reason it will not come to else block, it comes to final block and it prints I always executes, and you can't divide a number by 0 and it prints I always executes, you can't divide a number by 0 and also it printed I always executes. So, these are the two optional blocks. Yes, we understand these two blocks. Next we will discuss about final block, this is done, okay. Final block, this is done, right. How to handle multiple exceptions? Now we will discuss about how to handle if my program contains multiple exceptions. If my program contains multiple exceptions, how to handle? How to handle multiple exceptions, right. If you want to handle multiple exceptions, now the syntax, first we will see the syntax. The syntax is try block, okay, statements here, then catch or except, in Python we say except, exception names, here we have all the exception names. For example, type error or name error or value error or 0 division error, okay, 0 division error. This is syntax to handle multiple exceptions, okay. That again I will show you here, how to handle multiple exceptions. Suppose there is a possibility of multiple exceptions in your code, you can handle all exceptions by following way. Try code which can cause error, type error, maybe value error or 0 division error, except in the brackets type error, value error, 0 division error, as just declare one variable and print that variable. If any one of the above 3 exception happens, control goes to the particular block, exit block, and program is not terminated. It will not terminate the program, it will give some message. Okay. We will see one example. So, this is syntax here, try block, code which can cause type error, value error, 0 division error, except print something went wrong, print something went wrong. Okay. This is also we will see, right. So, I will go here, this time what will you accept 0 division error, comma, value error, comma, type error. Okay. For example, I handled 3 exceptions, and here what I will declare one variable called as obj, system message. Okay. Now, it will print here the system message, indentation, and come here and print that obj, nothing but it is some system message will print, it is a system message. I will remove this. Okay. Once again, from try block, A equals to int of input please enter number 1, B equals to int of input please enter number 2, and rest equals to A by B, print rest. Suppose if there are improper inputs, some wrong inputs. So, it comes to exit block and it will raise this message whichever, either 0 division error or value error or type error, and it prints that particular message. Okay. Let me show you practically. I will show you, run this. Okay. Please enter number 1. So, I will enter 10 here. Okay. I will enter 10, then I will enter 0. What happens we will see now, 10 by 0. So, it should execute this one, 0 division error, because I entered 10 by 0. Now, I will press enter, division by, you got a one miss, what, division by 0 error. See, the program is not terminated. We displayed one message when entered 0. Now, this time what I will do, here, I will enter 10, and this time I will enter one character. What happens? Again we will get the exception. Okay. Now, we will see which exception will occur. See, another exception occurred. Okay. This time invalidated for int based in A. So, this is a way to handle multiple exceptions. If you have multiple exceptions in your program, then we should use this multiple way of handling multiple exceptions, right. Now, there are 2 types of exceptions, like we have 2 types of functions, user defined functions and built-in functions, like built-in models and user defined models. Same way we have built-in exceptions and user defined exceptions. So, there are 2 types of exceptions, just write here, there are 2 types of exceptions. Number 1, built-in exceptions. Until what we discussed, all are built-in exceptions. Examples of built-in exceptions are what? For example, 0 division error. 0 division error is built-in exceptions, already it is in library. Value error, type error, these are all built-in exceptions. Okay. File not found error, this we will discuss in file handling concept. There is one exception called file not found error. These exceptions we will discuss in file handling. File found error, type error, then we have 0 division error, value error, name error, all these errors, all these exceptions are built-in exceptions. Okay. Same way we can create our own exceptions, and that own exceptions are called user defined exceptions. Right. Now, before we create user defined exceptions, you must know the hierarchy. All exceptions, all exceptions are classes. So, these are nothing but classes. 0 division error, value error, type error, file not found error, name error, they are all classes. Okay. So, now we will see hierarchy. all exceptions are classes. We will see now hierarchy of all the classes, all exception classes, hierarchy of all exception, nothing but classes. Okay. If you want to see what we will do, we will go to Google and we will see, and also programmatically will also display the hierarchy. For example, I will go to Google and we will search for class hierarchy of exceptions. So, I will go to Google and I will say exception class hierarchy in Python. Now, we will see one image, we will see one image. For example, we will take one image, this image, we will take this image, this image. See all exceptions, these are all classes here, these are all classes, or this zero division error is one class, and who is the parent of zero division error? The parent of zero division error is arithmetic error, and who is arithmetic? Who is the parent of arithmetic error? Exception is the parent class of arithmetic error. For zero division error, the parent class is arithmetic error, and for arithmetic error, the exception, the class is, the parent class is exception. If you take index error, for index error, the parent class is lookup error, and for lookup error, the parent class is exception. So, the parent is exception class for all the classes, for all the classes. So, if you will create one exception class, so it will be the class exception also, the parent class of the exception also, it should be this exception class. Okay. So, for example, if I create one exception class, I will create my own. If I create any exception class, okay, and that will be a we should inherit from that exception class. We should inherit from this exception class. Okay, right. And before we create an exception, what we will do? First, we will understand what is raise exception. Before we create any exception, first we will understand what is raise exception. Okay. What is raise exception? Raise exception, you can raise any exception either built-in or custom by using a raise keyword. Raise keyword, by using raise keyword, we can raise an exception. You can pass message inside the raise exception that designates the problem. Okay, and this is the syntax, exception name, optional message. So, first we will write a program how to raise an exception. So, what will you come here? I will come to PyCharm. Okay, I say here try. For example, if my input is negative number, I should raise an exception. Okay, if my input is a negative number, so I will declare one variable called a equals to int of please enter any number. Please enter any number. Right. If it is negative, so if a is negative number, if a is less than 0, then raise error. Then we will do? We will raise one error, value error for whatever. Okay, we will raise what? Value error. And here I will display one optional message. What? Number cannot be negative. Number cannot be negative. Right. I will put in this try block. Try indentation and leave some gap here, okay, gap here, and accept exception name, accept exception as obj, and print obj. That is it. Now, first what I will do? I will enter. We will write one more thing called else here. If it is positive number, print that positive number. Print A. Right. Now, I will run this program. It will ask for a number. just a minute, is please enter input function or data. Just give me 1 minute. We missed this input function. Input function, please enter any number. Enter any number, right. Or just a minute, just give me 1 minute. Yes, close the bracket. Yes, done. Now, I will run this program, we will see what happens. Please enter any number, I will enter positive number, for example, 10, I will enter 10, then it will print the positive number, perfect. But this time what I will do, I will enter a negative number. So, negative number should not accept and it should throw, it raise one exception. Okay. So, I enter -1 here. Now, what happens, this condition is false, -1 is less than 0, is not less than 0. Okay, if it is less than 0. So, it will raise this value error and it prints number cannot be negative, number cannot be negative. So, enter -1, I will press enter, number cannot be negative. Okay, right. So, we understand what is this raising exception, how to raise an exception, right. Now, we will create user defined exception. Okay. Already we know what are the built in exceptions, now we will create our own exception. To create own exceptions, first we understand the hierarchy. I want to print the hierarchy of the classes. Example, see here, see for example, index error or 0 division error. 0 division error, who is the parent? Arithmetic error. For arithmetic error, the parent is exception class. So, I want to print that. So, first I will print this, then we will create our own exceptions. For example, a equals to int of input, please enter any number, then b equals to int of input, please enter number 2, input, please enter number 2. Okay, this is number 1, this is number 2, right. Result equals to a by b, a slash b, and print res and print res. For example, if users enter 0, it should accept this block, exception accept 0 division error, okay, and print something called, for example, can't divide a number by 0, you can't divide a number by 0, right. Even I want to print the hierarchy of this class, I want to print the hierarchy of this 0 division error. If you want to print schema, first let me show you the hierarchy of 0 division error. So, see here 0 division error is the parent, arithmetic error. For arithmetic error, the parent is exception class. I want to print that. So, if you want to print that, I will come here, I will say print 0 division error dot MRO. MRO is a method reduction operator. If you print MRO, if you use this MRO, it will display the hierarchy. Let me run this program again, 10, 0, now it will display the hierarchy. Please here 0 division error, for 0 division error the parent is arithmetic error. For arithmetic error and the parent is exception class. For exception, base exception, and for base exception, object. Okay. So, the same thing is here in this diagram. Please here 0 division error, arithmetic error. For arithmetic error, exception. For exception, the parent class is base exception. So, whatever we displayed in this output, it is in this diagrams here. 0 division error, arithmetic error, exception class, and base exception. So, what I will do, we will create one exception. So, in this session, we will explain the steps. I will explain the steps. Then, let me explain the steps. Before we start creating the user defined exceptions, there are 3 steps. What? First step is what? Create exception class by inheriting exception class. So, what I will do? I will create one class here. And that it should inherit this exception class. That is the first step. Second step, we have to raise that created exception for particular condition, and third is handle that exception. Suppose I want to avoid division by 5. See, already we have division by 0 error. What we will do? We will create one exception, user defined exception called divide by 5 error. Means user, if a user divides a number by 5, it should throw an exception. Okay. This is user defined exception. Right. First step is what? Create exception class by initting exception class. So, I first step 1 is what? Class name. Class, what class? For example, I will create one class called div by 5 error, div by 5 error, and it should accept from exception class. This is exception class. Okay, this is step 1, and nothing here, just type here, pass here, no implementation, nothing. First step is done. What is the second step? Step 1 is done. Second step is raise created exception for particular condition. Raise created exception for particular. What is my condition? The condition, if the input is 5, you should throw an exception. So, what will here? I will try block. I will ask user to enter number. So, x equals to int function, input function, please enter number 1. Please enter number 1. Same way, I will create one more variable, one more input, control C, control V, okay, and this time I will give y here, y equals to input, please enter number 2, okay. Then what I will do here, if I will add the condition, what? If y is 5, if the value of y is 5, then raise exception. Which exception? Just now we create one exception called div by 5 error exception, and just pass one message, what? Cannot divide a number by 5, cannot divide a number by 5. Yeah, this is one exception, okay, right. And third step is handle that exception. What will you do here? Otherwise else part, else rest equals to x divided by y, x divided by y, and print res, if the condition is false. And third step, handle that exception. How to handle that exception? By using except exception, and I will display one message, what? Obj message, whatever is specified in the raise one. So, print obj, that is it, done. My user defined exception is done. When you divide a number by 5, you should get one exception. Okay. First what I will do, I will run this program, we will enter some positive inputs, for example 10, for example 2, you should give 5.0, perfect. Now, again I will run this time instead 10, and I will enter 5. Now, you should raise an exception, what? Cannot divide a number by 5. Now, this is called user defined exception. See, we got one exception, what? Cannot divide a number by 5. This is called user defined exception. In next video, we will discuss one more example, okay. And if you like this video, please click on this like button and share our channel. Thank you very much.